Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to this week's Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. I am your host, Mark. That was a better introduction than last time, Keane, but here we are. Oh, man, what a day. Obviously, big game. Well, big game. An important game on Thursday, one that we absolutely must win now. We need to win every single point remaining, I think. I didn't get the opportunity to talk to you, Stu, about the Chelsea game at the weekend, so it'd be nice to get your thoughts on that. There's talks that Ronaldo has made his intentions clear today, and we could see him appear on Thursday. Get your comments in, guys. Get liking, get subscribing. And we'll go from there. Keane, great to have you back on, buddy. How are you? How was your day? And how are you feeling about Thursday?
Yeah, I've had a very I suppose long enough day coming up towards the end of the month. So coming up towards, I suppose, coming up towards Christmas, coming up towards holiday, United match this week. So today I've been just rushing around every avenue, work life, personal life, everything. So I just can't wait till I'm on the fucking plane Thursday, and it's gonna be all systems go to Old Trafford to the game we're actually gonna talk about today. All good, happy with our football. So yeah, it's always good to come on and talk about United when we're either after winning or we're playing well. I think last season there was a lot of apathy coming on the show and talking about United. So it's good to talk about it in a positive light for a change.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've had this conversation a few times recently. And you know what? I won't get bored of it because I am enjoying everything that I'm seeing at the moment on and off the pitch. Of course, you're not going to get rid of the Glazers, but you've got a great manager. You're starting to see some real philosophy and cohesion happening, some really good play. All the signings have been excellent, all things that sort of we're not really been used to. And even at the weekend, I'm still gutted because I felt like it was 2 points dropped. I know we got the equaliser, but I really felt that it was 2 point dropped, and I felt that Chelsea could have been there for the taking. Stu, great to have you on, my man. It's been a little while, actually. I think it's a couple of weeks since I've seen you entirely.
Yeah.
But I hope you're well, buddy. I hope you're looking forward to Thursday. And yeah, just how are you?
Yeah, I'm good actually. I'm looking forward to Thursday. I think it'll be a relatively straightforward game. I have actually got a ticket as usual, but I'm struggling to get up there. But I will make an appearance this year, Keane. And again, I'll let you know when I'm there, pal. But I will make an appearance. My lad takes our ticket now, as you well know. So he goes. But look, I'm with Keane and I'm with you, Mark. I'm relatively happy with what's gone on so far. I would say one thing though. The concern for me is our scoring. Our chance creation is getting quite large at the moment, and our finishing is diminishing. And it's always going to be a problem. I've always said that we don't have this clinician in the penalty box, somebody who can, sense a chance 2 or 3 seconds, but quicker than anybody else in that box. We have Ronaldo, but there's issues with Ronaldo, as we know. And I don't see us sharing the goals around as much as we did in the 2019 season when Rashford and Martial were scoring for fun. So that's my only concern. But as you well know, Mark, as I've been going for years, like everyone else, the addition, which I'm sure we'll talk about, of Casemiro, it's really
he is. We will talk about him, but I'm so pleased he's shut everyone up. He has been absolutely sensational in the last 2 games.
What he does, he unlocks the defence and he unlocks the attack. And he's very methodical about how he does it. So obviously we'll talk about it later, so I won't go into that in a minute. But so all in all, really happy. Was happy with the points at Chelsea because let's face it, when you look at the fixtures, we always want to get at least a point away at Chelsea. It's been a tough place for us recently, so to get that point was great. And I don't think our momentum's been crushed by that. So I'm pretty happy at the minute, I have to say.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you are. I'm glad we're all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, really. I'm happy. You're happy. Keane's happy. And good stuff. We're all happy. It's nice. That's good. So anyway, just to kick things off then, first of all, Ronaldo has apparently, according to a few journalists, come out and said that he's apologised to Ten Hag. He said that his antics weren't acceptable, and consequently has been training with the first team again. How do you feel about that, Keane? Do you think he's obviously somebody that we need in and around the team, regardless of where he's going to go in January, where he may go next summer? And obviously, Stu was alluding to the fact that we're missing some goal scoring, goals. So is he that type of person that will contribute towards that?
Yeah, look, he definitely is. Like I said the other day, he's a brilliant goal scorer. Like, look, we have plenty of good inside forwards in our squad. When you talk about Rashford, Martial, Anthony, by the way, fucking mustard. But like, all these other players, they don't have that killer instinct like Ronaldo has. Now, again, like I said, in the big games, he has to accept that, like, he's not gonna be an automatic starter because we need to press in the front, we need to counter press. He's not gonna do them things. To I suppose to a very intense standard. He's 38 years of age, he can't do that. But in the games where we have plenty of the ball, where we create a load of chances, he can definitely be that man, though, to play up front. I almost think that in these games where we have those 60-70% of the ball, that Jadon Sancho is actually the one that needs to drop down to the bench, and Rashford goes out to the left, and maybe Ronaldo goes up top. Because if you look at like the Newcastles of the world, I just want to bring up that game last weekend, for example. Jadon Sancho and Anthony are very similar in terms of they both come to the ball. They're both not direct, in that instance. And when I look at them two on the same team, I don't think they can coexist. In terms of like giving us something different in attack. So like if you have a striker, Ronaldo, who's a very good finisher, he can score that half chance. So you have a chance of winning the game. Whereas if you have, let's say, Sancho, Rashford, and Anthony as a front three, Rashford is going to run in behind, but against a low block, he won't be able to do that because he won't have the space. And if you have Sancho and Anthony both coming to the ball, you have a bit of an ill balance in the front three. So I think in the smaller games, not that any game playing for Man United is a smaller game, but against weaker opposition, I think Ronaldo definitely should be starting. But if you're looking at the games where Chelsea's and Tottenham's, well, actually Tottenham you probably could have played because they stopped playing the ball. But so the City's, Liverpool's, the world, Cristiano, like, look, I don't think he has a place in them games from the start anyway. But look, I think if he's apologising, if he's got more clarification maybe from the manager about his positioning in the squad, then look, I think it could be all systems go between now and the end of the season. I think at the end of the season, we should definitely leave him go. I'm not saying that in a way to criticise Cristiano Ronaldo, the man, the person, the player, or anything like that. I'm just looking at, again, like I said, start of the season, the long-term rebuild. You can't have a 38-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo going on 39 in the squad next season. We need to be obviously either bleeding in some of the younger players or buying a striker to be there for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So to answer your question, I think, yes, while he's at the club for this season, there's definitely a role, there's definitely a position for him. Definitely this Thursday, I most definitely would start him against a team like Sheriff, who probably will sit behind the ball, and we're going to need someone in the box. So when we are putting crosses in, when Dallo and probably Malacia is probably going to play, who are both going to be whipping balls into the box, we need someone to put their head on, and we need someone to be a presence there, and Ronaldo definitely is that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you in the fact that he needs to be in and around the team. Obviously, we experience, know how Gil, and he's an important person to have around. I think you're absolutely right in the fact that he will play against the sort of harder teams to break down. He's got that physical presence. He's got that different dimension to what we let me just put this on silent. Sorry, to what we have, and certainly someone that we can have around the team. And listen, no one wants to waste any time. United don't want to waste any time. Ronaldo doesn't want to waste any of his time. So you might as well, if you're not going anywhere until at least January, you might as well shut up shop and just get on with it. And hopefully we will see that going forward. Get your comments in, guys. Tell us how you feel about Ronaldo being available again. Do you think he'll start on Thursday? Keane seems to think so. I probably lean towards that as well, and we'll come to Stu in a minute. Greg in the comments, evening gents, Ronaldo shouldn't play again. 4 games to the World Cup. He can leave in January, but he has to accept a smaller role in a big club or a bigger role at a smaller club. Jarvis, great to have you back, buddy. It's been a little while. Didn't get any notification on YouTube or Twitter. I have no idea why that hasn't happened, but it's not our fault.
That was strange. That happened last week as well.
Did it happen last week? Yeah. Twitter or YouTube, we'll write a strongly worded email to them after this, no doubt. But good to have you here anyway, buddy. So Stu, same question to you then, buddy. Good to have him back. Where do you see him sort of playing? How much do you see him playing, and do you reckon you see him on Thursday?
I'm kind of I'm in agreement with you guys. I think Keane was right that he's probably got some kind of clarification now from Ten Hag what his role is going to be between now and January or now in the end of the season. I think that's right. From a player's perspective, and I did call it a little bit controversy about this because I didn't really care that he walked down, down the tunnel. It doesn't bother me. And when people talk about when people talk about apologies, I've been in dressing rooms for years now, and if somebody says sorry, it's just in one ear and out the other. I don't care, because you have to concentrate as much on the team as you do as yourself. And I've got to be honest, fellas, throughout the years, I've been just as petulant about certain things. If I haven't, if I've been playing well and I've been dropped, I've gone off in a fucking huff, broken doors and all that kind of stuff, because you need that winning mentality. You need that winner. Now, if when you're in that type of dressing room, you're looking around and you're looking at people, and you're wondering exactly what they can do for you and what they can't do for you. Now, a lot of people quite rightly didn't agree with what he did, and I wholeheartedly respect their opinions. But for me, it didn't matter so much because I've seen it before. Roy Keane's come out and said Scholes, refused to come on or didn't want to play a game, and he gets fined and things like that. It happens in football, and you just have to deal with it. As long as you as a player can get over that and get on with it, it's a better way of dealing with things, in my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just my opinion. That's how I
think just to come off the back of that, I think you're right. I think things are too heavily scrutinized these days, are too in the limelight. We seem to know everything to the nth degree and in between the lines and everything, and it happens all the time. People haven't changed. Do you know what I mean? I know we evolved, but this is only 50 years. Do you know what I mean? It's not 1,000. These things happen. These things are going to continue to happen and have done in the past.
And so, as I say, for me, that side of it, neither in nor there. But Keane's right and you're right, and so is Greg. You've got to look at where his position at the club is now and where his position within the team is. And if Ten Hag can be upfront and honest with him and say, listen, pal, I will start you against the likes of Sheriff, as Keane quite rightly said, I'll start you against Crystal Palace, etc., lower teams. But when I'm playing a different formation or I want to play a different type of football that I can't get you into, you're just going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to sit there quietly and deal with it. Okay. So I fully agree with that. The older you get, the more you're going to get told that you're not going to start all the time. The more you've got to accept it, even though Ronaldo is probably fitter than most of the players that we've got there. He's got to accept his role in the team, and that's how it is. And so, as I say, I don't disagree with anybody's opinion on it. It's just the way that I see it. I'm in the dressing room with him. It just doesn't bother me. I just don't care. I don't care.
I just think Ten Hag has dealt with this situation very well. I think the fact that
superbly.
Like the media have over sensationalized the situation. I think. Look, Ten Hag basically said, look, I've spoke to him, I've dealt with him, that's it, I want to move on. And the fact, look, Monday morning, he's back in training. Water under the bridge now. Do you know, I think, most importantly, I think what we have to do as a collective here is let's look to the future. And I think, look, if I'd say Eric Ten Hag, he has made Ronaldo's role clear to him at the start of the season. Now, whether Ronaldo probably didn't hear that properly, I don't know. But Ten Hag has dealt with it brilliantly. And the fact that he's apologized and he's back in training, I think we just have to move on from it now, because I think there is a, I suppose, it could potentially be an issue where Ronaldo almost overshadows the whole team. And if you look at collectively what we're doing at the moment in terms of how hard this team is working, how together they look on the pitch, like, we can't have that being overshadowed. So I think Ten Hag has nipped it in the bud quite early. And I think what he has to do now is just get on with it. Ronaldo has to get on with it. The club, the fans, everyone at this point now. Fucking Roy Keane has to get on with it massively. Like, the fact Roy Keane...
I didn't agree with anything he said the other night.
Yeah. I'm named after the man. I fucking adore... I adore Roy Keane. Like, he's one of my idols in life. And to hear him the other day say, like, some fans know nothing, like, that's massively disrespectful towards Man United fans. It really is saying fans know nothing like that. Like, some fans don't know anything. Like, the way he kind of phrased that, I think, look, he needs to reflect on that and actually, maybe go back in that statement. But I think it's been over sensationalized, and I think even for himself, Ronaldo probably. Well, I understand Stu's point in terms of, I wouldn't care. For me, I probably would. And the reason why I would care about the situation is this United's best performance all season. Like, we absolutely battered Spurs, played them off the park. Then albeit they're in a bit of a rough patch at the minute, but they're still one of the best teams in the league. Like, and they've gone to City and won. They've done plenty of good under Antonio Conte. And for United, like, to put on that type of performance, no one's talking about how Bruno played really well, how Rashford played really well, how Casemiro, was that anchor in midfield. No one was talking about that. All people are talking about after the game, and journalists and pundits and all that bullshit, all they're talking about is...
That's what really aggravated me, I think. I just wanted to enjoy arguably the best bit of football I've seen for a long time and enjoy the 3 points, and it was overshadowed by something ridiculous. If I think back to 2007 when Ronaldo did the same thing, I was a lot younger then, and I probably took it to heart a little bit more. And I was like, why is he doing this? Don't want him to leave. Don't want him to leave. But these days, and I'm not saying the older you get, the wiser you get, you don't tend to really care about it so much. But I think when the media do sensationalize, as you said, Keane, it does get out of hand.
The interesting thing is, sorry, Keane, I was about to say the interesting thing is, because I actually agree with both of you, and I can see why, Keane, you would see it differently to me. But isn't that the beauty of football, though? Everybody sees it differently. We've all got our own pairs of eyes. We've all got our own ears. We've all got our own thoughts, and that's absolutely great. And I do agree with you. It's all about sensationalising Ronaldo, because the press don't want to talk about how good we're playing. Have you noticed? None of the press has actually come out and said Manchester United obliterated Chelsea, just couldn't score, or they absolutely demolished Spurs and should have scored more than this. We don't get that anymore. There's no headlines, United blast X, Y, and Z away. It's all about United.
It's not the attractive topic, is it? It seems to be that the media darlings at the moment are Liverpool, and if they're playing poorly, everyone's like, hopefully they bounce back, and when they play well, they can't shut up.
We all our fans go on Twitter and say, fucking Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that, blah 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 blah. Shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that, blah 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 blah. Fucking all the press, they pick up on Twitter now. They start looking at what's the fans' interests, and they almost sensationalize what the fans are talking about. I've said before on here, and I'll say it again. Journalism is... I'm a journalist, by the way. I work in sports journalism, everybody, so I know how it works. Journalism is lazy. When it comes to football, it's as lazy as it gets, because they will look at the negative rather than the positive. And the positive spin should be at the minute that, hold on, as good as Arsenal are playing, Manchester United are playing equally as well as Arsenal. And look at who we've beaten in our league run at the minute. And look who Arsenal have played. Look who Tottenham have played. I think we're the only one that's played the full top six, aren't we?
Yeah, we've played all 10 out of 11, haven't we? 10
there you
out
go.
of the top 11.
And look at where we are, and we're in a very strong position. So it should all be about how good we're playing. But that doesn't sell papers anymore. nobody cares. You know,
I don't
it
think they even
matters.
sell papers anymore, do they?
Well, sorry, yeah. Well, we don't, yeah. But my point being, that's showing me age there, Keane. It wouldn't make the Irish Times, that one. No, I'm only kidding.
But they don't sell that over here anyway. I think, like, to be fair, we're such a shit country. The Sun gets fucking sold over here, like.
So just quickly, the only team we haven't played in the top 10 is West Ham, and then we've played Brentford and Everton, who are 11th and 12th respectively.
But we should get some kind of kudos for that, and he's not. And you know, Ten Hag will probably like that. He seems, you know, very underassumed in terms of the way that he carries himself, and that he's not bothered about the press. But this is the issue. If the press would look at the way that we're playing, the Ronaldo thing wouldn't care, because I would imagine 90% of the players in the dressing room, whatever. We go home. Fucking Ronaldo stormed off love tonight. You should have seen it. He that's what I've done in the past. We come home, you should have seen this tackle. And my missus then falls asleep because she's bored stiff. She's not interested. So it's like I say, guys. It purely is my point, but I agree with what everybody said, and I can understand why people jumped on Ronaldo doing that. But I've been petulant, so it'd be really hypocritical of me to have a pop at Ronaldo when I've done something similar, in the past. In the heat of the moment when it comes to football, I've told you before, Mark and Keane, you know this, I'm a fucking terrible winner, really bad winner. I'm a bad loser and a bad winner. And so you need that fire in your belly sometimes. People need it.
Yeah, just to come on to a couple of points, actually. John says here, good points, Stu. I mentioned we have played all the top 6 and got 10 points. The rest are to play each other, and we are in a good position for top 4. Coming back to Ronaldo's situation, Helly, great to have you with us again. ETH doesn't hold grudges. He's moved on now. Ronaldo now has the chance to step up and put in the work to get the minutes on the pitch. Up to him and him alone. Absolutely right. Do you agree with any of this, Keane? Greg's come in here and he said, but he isn't playing well. He's throwing a strop because his role is diminished, and he's probably even more hurt about no Champions League club wanting him. If this didn't damage his image, he wouldn't care.
Look, I think as part that's definitely true. I think if you look at like who he is and how driven of an individual he is, and like how stats and honors driven Ronaldo is, he's gonna be pissed off. Probably with himself and just with the old wider picture that he isn't the player he was 4 or 5 years ago, and he's not the most sought after footballer in the world right now. Erling Haaland's that player now. I can see where Greg is coming from, that there was his ego is probably damaged. But look, I think this all these big players have come to a time, like Ronaldinho came to a stage where he couldn't do it anymore at the top level. It happened Roy Keane, happened Scholesy. Scholesy been open about it. Happened Ryan Giggs. Players at this football club, obviously Ronaldinho didn't play with us, but you get the picture. All these big players, world-class players, they come to a stage in their career where they have to realize, they're not the same player they were, and they have to adapt. They have to adapt their game, but also they have to get used to the current role they have. And if Ronaldo wants to be at a big club now, he's going to have to realize in these bigger games where they have to press, and football has evolved, that he's not going to play every single game. Now, I know for his own stats, his goal scoring, it may hinder it to some degree, but right now he has to accept that he isn't the best player in the world anymore. He isn't the best number 9 in the world anymore. He has to accept that. He's still a top player. He'll still get you goals if you create him chances in games. He'll still get you goals. But I think right now Ronaldo has to accept that, look, it's not the same as it was when he's at Real Madrid. It's not the same as it was when he was at his first spell at United, when, look, he had a team 1 to 11 full of world-class players. He doesn't have that right now. We have very good players in the team. And we have, I suppose not a big, massive squad, but we have a good squad. But I think Ronaldo has to accept now that there is a different way of playing. And at his age, we know he can't adapt to it. Look, let's call a spade a spade. He's not going to... 10 years ago when he used that, fit as a fiddle, and he was one of the quickest players in world football, he didn't press. Ji-sung Park done his pressing firm when he was in the United team. Park Ji-sung done his pressing firm. Darren Fletcher done his pressing firm. Anderson done a firm.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it now, So, it's it's just a case where he's just going to have to accept where he is. He's going to have to do it. And if he doesn't, then look, that's on him. If he doesn't accept that he can't do certain things anymore, that's on Ronaldo. That's not on Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, that's not Eric's fault. It's not Man United's fault. I mean, ultimately, regardless of what everyone's thoughts are on where he should be, what he should be given, and you are your own individual, and you're able to provide as much or as little as you give, and he's got to be able to do that. He's got to be able to do that, and you're right. He's not going to be able to adapt. Even 10 years ago, I know the point you were making. Even 10 years ago, he wouldn't have been able to adapt then. So he's certainly not going to now. At the age that he is,
and that's not dissing like anyone like who plays football. But like, there's a certain time in your career where you have to adapt your game. Like Giggsy was a flying winger. Ryan Giggs was like one of the quickest, most agile wingers that were out there. Giggs couldn't do it at that level. What did Giggs do? Giggs dropped in hole in midfield and played deeper and was picking passes, and he adapted his game. Giggs went from playing like 40, 50 games in a season to playing about 25 to 30. But don't them 25 to 30 games, when he played them games, when we needed that great spark, Giggs contributed. Scholes, he done the same. So, like, Ronaldo needs to maybe look at how I know, look, he's a better player than what Giggs and Scholes ever were. He achieved, a lot in the game, right? He won Ballon d'Or. He was the best player in the world. But look how Giggs and Scholes looked after their bodies, similar to how he done it. And look how they adapted their games at the same age Ronaldo is now.
Yeah.
Ronaldo needs to come to that acceptance that they did in their late 30s.
He couldn't even do that now, though, really. He couldn't, he's 38 now. I mean, if he goes on, then fair enough. But I don't even think that he could maybe even drop back a little bit, become a completely different player.
I'm not saying drop into midfield, Rant. What I'm saying is he needs to accept that, look, he's going to play 25 to maybe 30 games a season opposed to 40 or 50, but he can look after himself to make sure that for them 25 to 30 games, he's in prime shape and he's ready to go and he's ready to contribute. Like, he's not that same man who's going to play that many games and have that impact. He needs to realize that there's going to be a certain amount of games at the top level where he can't play.
Yeah. Good points, well made, everybody. Right, before we move on to our new favourite toy in Casemiro, I want you both to 2 minutes. Just give me a 2-minute review of the Chelsea game, how you felt, what you expected, and Stu, you can go first, buddy.
Yeah, look, I was really impressed with the way that we approached the Chelsea game, to be honest. And our new favourite toy was the linchpin of everything that we've been achieving over the past few weeks. Now, if you study football and you watch football and you understand the real role, the true role of a CDM, and you watch Casemiro play, you'll understand what we've been missing for the past 3 years. So a lot of people come and say, well, we're missing a CDM, but why were we missing a CDM? And Casemiro is the perfect example of why we're missing a CDM. He's always in the same place. So whether you're Anthony or whether you're Sancho or whether you're Varane or whether you're Martinez, whether you're Eriksen or whether you're Bruno, you know where Casemiro is going to be. And what he does when he receives the ball brilliantly is he'll knock it 2 or 3 yards. And if you watch him, he'll then stay put. He'll stand in that position because he'll spend the next 5 or 6 seconds looking at the game and how it unfolds. And only then will he make a decision whether or not to stay put or maybe jog for the next 2 or 3 seconds, because he's always looking at transition. But when he jogs, he'll jog in a little side-by-side motion. He won't come out in the middle of the pitch. And the reason he won't come out the middle of the pitch is he's waiting for transition. If we lose the ball, he's in the perfect position, to be able to break up any attack. If we remain in possession, he'll then jog straight forward another 2, maybe 4, 5, 6 yards, ready to be an auxiliary attacker if needed. So when, if they need to play the ball out to Casemiro, he can then either take a strike, he can play a little dink over to whoever's playing up front, or he can play it wide. That's what he does brilliantly. And that's what a CDM does. He anticipates, but he watches. He uses his eyes. And the reason why we're having this issue with McTominay, why we're having this issue with Fred, is they would be way out of position way out of position. So they would be left, they would be right. Casemiro's not. He will only make that move out the centre when it's necessary or whether he's got cover. Watch his head. Watch his head. He's almost like the bird out The Exorcist. Head's on a 360 swivel. He really is. He's watching, he's looking, he's turning. He knows exactly
What
where
a description. Thank you, buddy.
he knows exactly where he
As
is.
an analogy in a fucking half there.
Yeah, sorry. But he knows, my point being, he knows exactly where he is at any given time. He'll know where Eriksen is and he'll know who's behind him. And he'll know the distance, okay, between him and the two centre halves, whether it be Martinez and Varane. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. He would make a huge difference to the way that Maguire plays. I know people will start having a right go at me now. Well, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah.
No, I think you're right.
But if you understand football, and I'm sorry to be so blunt about this, but if you understand football, Maguire will be so much more comfortable, okay, with somebody like, with somebody like Casemiro in front of him, because he will know, he will have that comfort. And that's why you're seeing Martinez, Varane, I know he's injured again, so we've got a real problem. But Varane was coming out of his shell because he knew how to play alongside Casemiro. Bruno and Eriksen, if you watched on against Chelsea on Saturday, they almost played as 2 10s because they knew that if the play broke down, Casemiro was there. It's a wonderful display Saturday was of how to play central midfield.
I think this is the I think
Sorry to
people
go
have, no, you're absolutely fine. I think people have become over the years too accustomed to how they think a 6 should be. And Fred and McTominay, and I've said this for years, you have Stu, you have Keane, they are not even close for many, many reasons. But I think this is now showing to everybody just the difference between one that you're trying to shoehorn in and an actual 6 that knows what he's doing, that's been there, that's won it all. And I'm so pleased that he's been able to sort of take his time, be integrated into the team. And he was absolutely, honestly, I'm very quickly is becoming my favourite signing. You know, we've spoken about Malacia and how good we think he will be eventually. Making mistakes, we understand that. We've spoken about Eriksen that's come in and he's dictating the play and he's trying to keep the pace that he's used to and has really shown us again what a technical number 8 is like. And we could go on. You know, Anthony scored 3 goals in 3 games. Is looking dangerous. Is taking players on. Is tracking back. I love him. Yeah, I love him. But with all those in mind, Casemiro, I think, is going to be everyone's favourite by the end of the season. Honestly, I think he's been absolutely sensational. Thanks for moving those. Yeah. So anyway, moving on then. Keane, give me your. I haven't spoken to you about this either. Give me your sort of 2-minute rendition on the Chelsea game.
I really, really like the performance. Again, like, you know, one thing I said on the preview, I alluded to the fact that in the big games we played this season, we played them all at home. And I wanted to see a performance away from home because in the big games last season away from home, we were fucking tripe. And to see how well we played, how we commanded the game with the chances we created, it was like after the game, I said, look, I take the point because it's a last minute equalizer, it was pandemonium. You take that. But I'm sick and we didn't get the win because I think like if you look at the situation in the top 4, so you look at other teams dropping points, I think it is 2 points dropped. And as Matt was saying that at this stage of the season compared to last year I would have snatched your hand off for a fucking draw away from home against Chelsea. So like, look, it was a good performance. Casemiro again, absolutely brilliant player.
I just to interject, sorry, buddy. I get so frustrated about the result of the weekend for many reasons. But I have to then remember that it was at Stamford Bridge. And it's very difficult.
This season, though, compared to previous ones.
It's very difficult going there and getting anything. And in our last 5 previous meetings before that were 4 draws and then a 3-1 loss in an FA Cup. So we've got to take the silver lining.
Yeah, we have to. But at the same time, if you look at the current situation Chelsea are, yes, they've kept clean sheets against Potter, but they're not Chelsea at the minute. They're not firing on all cylinders at the moment. Like, I think Chelsea can actually do a lot more with the squad they have, but that's another conversation. We'll leave Sean and Evan come on and they can chat about that at some other time. But like I think it's 2 points dropped considering chances to be created. And like it was one of David De Gea's quietest games this season, as well. So like again, the fact that we're not here after a big game talking about David De Gea either not coming off his line or distribution is something that which is something very good at this moment. But yeah, very happy with the performance. And before the Newcastle game, I said if you give me 7 points in 3 games, I would have snapped your hand off. 5 points isn't bad when you consider the opposition we had. Like Newcastle, one of the best teams in the league at the minute. Spurs and Chelsea. 5 points isn't that bad, really.
No, it's not. It's not. You're right, and I've just said exactly the same thing. You got to take the silver lining. I just feel like, oh man, we could have had all 9. We could have had all 9, but obviously it just wasn't to be.
There's something though, unfortunately, that we've got to sort out. We were talking about the absence of a 9. Let's call it that. Just say absence of a 9. It doesn't matter who it is, but an absence of a 9. And we're talking about the inability at the minute of Sancho to shine, and Anthony, as Keane and Marc both said, is mustard, but is still not playing to his full potential. And that reason is when Dalot and Shaw are overlapping on Sancho or Anthony, when they're knocking the ball back 9 out of 10 times, you have noticed that they get quite deep up the pitch, and then they'll just play the ball back to it'll either be Sancho to Shaw or Shaw to Sancho. There's nobody in the box to fucking hit. Nobody there.
That's what I'm saying. If you have Sancho and Anthony in the same team, it's not going to work if we don't have a number 9.
Exactly.
It can't work because they both get the ball on them wings and they both cut in and they try to get that ball in. I think Sancho, to be fair, I don't know, his decision making in the last couple of games is really frustrating me.
Yeah,
do you know he can take
on? It's been like that for quite a while, I'd say. Yeah,
but I think Sancho's issue is, and this is where I agree with you wholeheartedly, Keane, is that during his Dortmund days, you've got that big 6'9" fucking Yeti to hit, haven't you? And 9 out of 10 times he's going to get on there and he's going to do something with it. Sancho is looking for that every time he takes the ball. He's looking for it, and then he's dancing around on the edge of the area, and he doesn't know what to do with it because there's nobody in. So what I'd like to see him do is attack the diagonal. I'm like a broken record of this. If he attacked the diagonal, i.e. the quarter of the penalty area, he would do some real damage because you're making a defender think twice. What am I going to do? I can't back off this kid because if I back off him, he's just going to do me for speed and in and around me.
It could be a penalty.
Exactly right. And that's all we're looking for, isn't it? So Sanchez got to think to himself, okay, there's nobody in there. So I'm going to get my head down. I'm going to drive. I'm going to go bang at you. I'm going to make you make a decision. I'm not the one who's got to make the decision. You as a fullback have got to make the decision. So if you're a fullback playing him, it's very, very simple at this point in time. All you got to do is square him up. Now what you're going to do? You're going to diddle around with your feet. You're just going to knock it back to Shaw. And then you're hoping as a fullback that your winger or your right side midfielder is just coming across to block Shaw. So Shaw's then got to go back to Casemiro and you've got to start again. That's what's happening for us because, as Keane pointed out right at the beginning of the show, there's nobody to hit. And watch Anthony. He's doing the same. If Anthony can't get on his left peg, if he can't turn, get his left peg and get a shot in, he won't go. He won't go to the byline, will he? No, very rarely will he go to the byline because he doesn't trust his right foot. So as a left back, if you can keep Anthony on his right foot, which is easier said than done.
Yeah.
Let me be clear about this. I'm not saying it's easy. It's easier said than done. But if you can keep him on his right foot, you nullify our 2 wingers just like that. It's bad, isn't it?
You see the difference when Rashford plays on the left still. You see the difference when Rashford plays there. Because we have Anthony who can be that creator, but then you have Rashford who's direct, who can take a player on. And players are afraid to stick a leg in with him because the amount of times he got fouled in the box previously, and we're not advocating for us to get penalties. We probably won't them shit bastards in VAR anyway. But like, do you know what I mean? In that 1920 season when we had Martial, Rashford, and Daniel James on the wing,
it's perfect,
James was whipping balls into the box. You had Rashford taking players on, and then Martial bringing Bruno into play, bringing Paul Pogba into play. Like we had a brilliant balance in that team.
Yeah,
I think we can have that now with Eriksen, Bruno. If you'd Rashford at the left, and like if we could get a number 9 in there, with Anthony, and let's say I think my ideal front three right now would be, Anthony on the right, Rashford on the left, and a new number 9. because Martial is never fit. Like if Martial's fit, that would be my front three. But I think for me, if I look at Sancho's skill set, I just feel like you can't have him and Anthony in the same team because they'll do the same thing and we get found out. Whereas if you look at the way City used to play their front threes, they'd have Foden, who's kind of the creator. And then Sterling, I know he's with Chelsea now, but he'd be the player who would get in behind and give you something different. I think like that's what we have to do with our front three, even if we do have a striker, because you need to, I suppose, different ideas and different players still to create different types of chances. Like Liverpool had it with Mane, Salah, and Firmino. They're all different styles, but teams would be afraid to get at them because either if they give away a penalty or they'd be afraid for Salah to get on his left peg, similar to what Anthony's doing now. Like I just think if you get a number 9 in there, it sorts out a lot of problems. And even like if you look at current strikers right out there right now, and I know they're not people's cup of tea. I know Greg Chambers is probably going to come to my house and fucking slash me for saying this. But like, if you had Anthony or Tammy Abraham in our team right now at number 9, our team would be exponentially better.
I've said it before about somebody like Ivan Toney, somebody like that. I've been on plenty of shows in the past, and I've mentioned certain players, and people have come at me saying, and you know what, Keane? It's not sexy. He's not sexy. Is he Tammy Abraham? He's not sexy. Ivan Toney, he's not sexy. I spoke about Conor Cody. Look at his leadership. Look at what he's done to Everton. For Everton and their back four, him and Tarkowski. They're not sexy players, are they? Because they're not called Jarzinho or whatever. And this is the problem with our fan base. They don't actually understand about, it doesn't matter what your name is. Can you do the job in the team? And somebody like Tammy Abraham would. Someone like Ivan Toney would. You don't have to go and get a
Wilson would be fucking brilliant in this team as well, by the way.
Who's that?
Callum Wilson.
Yeah. Anything
I've always rated him.
Yeah, anyone like that. We don't have to go and spend 100 million on, I don't know, whoever. Vlahovic, for example, who I wanted 18 months ago. He would have fit in brilliant for us. There are other players around you. You've just got to look at them. You've got to look at the types of players that we're looking at and look at what they could offer. You need to also talk about Eriksen, Keane. Someone like Abraham or Toney would allow Eriksen to play a nice deep crossing as well from virtually, from the middle of the pitch, and he'll be there. He'll get his head on it. He'll do something. So,
yeah, great points, guys. Another point there. Gakpo. I thought he was more of a sort of inside forward. Again, I know he scored a hell of a lot of goals this season for PSV, yeah. But I didn't think he was a number 9. I think we're. I'd love him.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Benjamin Sesko, he'd be another one.
Yeah.
Sesko would be good. Yeah, and Cuckoo, any of those. But
Cuckoo's going to Chelsea, I think. But
is it happening? Is it?
Yeah, we get updated all the time from someone that knows a little bit more, I think. And he's saying that it's basically a done deal, and he might even be moving in January. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's move on then. So we've spoken a lot about strikers, at least. So with that in mind, who would you start as your front three? And I'll come to you first, Keane. Thursday night.
Well, because it's obviously we've big game against West Ham the weekend. I kind of want a bit of rotation because I think we have the beating of these. So I go Anthony on the right just selfishly because I'm going to the game and I haven't seen him play yet. So Anthony on the right, Ronaldo up top, and I'd actually go Anthony Elanga on the left. Now I know people will be shouting at me, Garnacho. I think Garnacho could get a game, but I looked at how energetic Elanga was when he came on, and just the point I was making just a minute ago in terms of getting a player in behind who can take on a player. No matter how many times Anthony Elanga loses the ball, he still takes a player on. He doesn't shy away from it. So I'd have Elanga on the left, Ronaldo up top, Anthony on the right. That'll be my front three.
I would go slightly different. I would play Sancho and drop Anthony, rest Anthony. I know you want to watch him, Keane, but I'd rest him. But I would get Sancho just to get him some more game time and get his, I hate the word confidence. It fucking winds me up, it does, but we'll use that confidence. I would go with Elanga, by the way.
Me too.
But I would give Anthony a rest and keep pushing Sancho. Come on, mate, you've got to start.
But the only problem I see with playing Sancho and playing him on the right is he's not going to play there week in, week out with Anthony. So
No,
he's
he
going to have
isn't.
to,
Yeah, he
Alanga
isn't.
have to play on the right.
No, but just to get him some minutes and getting some confidence, I think. And a game against Sheriff will be the perfect game for that. I'm actually in agreement with both of you. I'd have Ronaldo, I'd have Sancho on the right and Alanga on the left, and switch him. I think that Alanga deserves to have a bit of minutes. He did really well when he came on. I think Sancho, you're absolutely right. We need to build his confidence. And I think Ronaldo starting could be a thing. Bearing in mind, guys, as well, we need these 6 points. We have to win this game this Thursday, and we have to beat Sociedad.
Yeah, we do.
When we play them in the final game, because if we come second, then we're liable to play in a knockout against a Champions League team. Now, listen, I don't mind that, but it would be nice just to get top, feel a bit safe, have one less game to do, and look forward. Is my opinion anyway, on this occasion at least. So yeah, with that in mind, then moving on to the midfield, 3 in midfield. Who are you going with, Keane?
I go Casemiro, absolute mustard. Yeah, I'm playing him in there again. Selfish, but yeah, I'll go Casemiro. I go same midfield 3: Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno all day.
You're going that strong, are you? What about you, Stu?
I don't disagree. I think at the end of the day, we've got to make sure we get a result, and I think you've got to try and get a result until half time. For 1 or 2 up at half time, make your changes then. So I totally agree. I'm with Keane on this one. I would start with those.
All right. So another bit of a conundrum then. I think we're all in agreement. We spoke about it earlier. A couple of people in the comments. Malacia left back, give Shaw a rest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallo. Well, actually, Harry Maguire. One sec. Harry Maguire, Donny van der Beek, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are all in training.
Well, there you go.
With the possibility of them, being in the team. So, with that in mind, who would your other 3 be, if aside from Malacia? You go first, Stu.
If Casemiro plays, I would be inclined to give if Maguire's fit, I would be inclined to give Maguire a start. Yeah, I would, because Varane's out potentially until the eve of the World Cup, isn't he? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's not going to play another game between now and the World Cup.
No. So, and if I was Maguire personally, I'd be really pushing Ten Hag to play me, because Maguire will know whether he's going to the World Cup or not. He'll know already what he's doing. And I would make that choice. Would I play Lindelof or would I play Martinez? That's the key for me. I would play Martinez. And do you say Wan-Bissaka's back?
Yeah, he's back in training as well. They've both got 50% chance of playing, both Harry and Wan-Bissaka and Martial as well.
I'd start Wan-Bissaka then if I couldn't give Dallo. You've got to rest Dallo at some point.
I would.
You have to rest him at some point. So that would be my back four. Malacia, Martinez, Maguire, and Wan-Bissaka.
What about you, Keane?
I'd slightly different. I'd just, again, because you can use 5 subs Europa League, my back four would be Dallo, Lindelof, Martinez, Malacia. Again, if we're home and hose, let's say half-time or 60 minutes into the game, you can bring on Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, and Donny van de Bench. So you can bring on them 3 to get some crucial minutes in the second half. If the game is home and hosed, I just look at it from the same perspective as you said earlier. Like, I think we need these 3 points.
We do.
And if we can put, like, if we've Ronaldo in the team and we start a very strong team against Sheriff, like in this case, we will be able to to give some of these players minutes, but we need to get through the group. That's the most important thing here. And I think we, by playing the likes of Bruno, Eriksen, Ronaldo, Anthony, players like that, we will be able to get the result hopefully early, and then look, you can give Van de Beek a game, someone has to give him a game at some point in the season, whether it's now or whether it's the last game of the season. I'm waiting to wind Mark up now, but like players like Van de Beek, Wan-Bissaka, they're going to need minutes if they're staying or if they're leaving. We need to put them in the shop window. So
the interesting thing is, and you're right. I don't disagree about playing Lindelof. By the way, Martinez, I don't disagree with that at all. The problem we've got, and the problem that Ten Hag must be thinking to himself, Varane's been injured 3 times already this season. Pre-season, what was it, 4th game in or something like that. But it's his 3rd injury, isn't it? I can't remember the exact timescales. And if you're Ten Hag, the gaffer, you must be thinking, what do I do? And you've got to get Maguire bedded back in, haven't you? You must have to at some point get him bedded back in. So that's my only thought process.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's probably more than likely going to be Martinez, Lindelof, and Dallo again. And I think you're right with the 5 subs things. Why not change it around?
I keep forgetting 5 subs. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, I do. I always do. All right, I'm going to bring up this comment.
Why are we talking about Messi?
I have absolutely no idea.
I'll answer this one, right? I'll answer this one for you. He's doing better than last season when he couldn't do it in the Uber Eats League. So with that in mind, he's doing way better than last season. Brilliant player, one of the greatest of all time. Brilliant footballer. But this is a Man United podcast. He's not involved. He's not a Sheriff player or a Man United player. So he's doing better than last season. But look, we don't concentrate on Messi.
Yeah, she's right.
My friend.
Right. Okay. So just quickly, we're going to wrap up in a second, guys. Well, very, very soon. I want everybody in the comments, actually, every single one of you watching, quite a few over on Twitter. Come over to youtube.com/weekly armchair sports talk and get your comments.
Mark, you got it.
Yeah, mate, I was going to get there, but I was also reading the comment as well at the same time, so it threw me off a little bit. But no, that's fine. So yeah, get your comments in on what you think the first goal scorer is going to be. What you think the final score is, and whilst you do that and get your comments in, and I know Helly won't want to predict because she never does, but that's fine. But yeah, over to you, Keane. What are you saying?
I'm gonna go. I always do is to concede in every game, so this time I'm not. I'm actually going to be ultra positive. I'm going to go 3-0 United. First goal scorer. It just has to be for the headlines. Cristiano Ronaldo to score, and Scholesy and Rio would be fucking there at halftime on BT Sport. Given that saying they were right that Ronaldo needs to be playing blah 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 blah. So I'm gonna go 3-0 United and Ronaldo first goal scorer, and I'll give an honourable mention to Lisandro Martinez is going to get his first United goal this week. I'm saying it every single pod I'm on, and it's going to happen, right? It's going to fucking happen.
It is going to happen.
My drafts already, ready for Jamie Carragher when Lisandro Martinez scores a header. I just have it ready in my drafts. I've been killing this man for weeks with every Martinez performance, so I'm just waiting for him to score that header. And literally, my Twitter drafts, Jamie Carragher is tagged, and I will get the video of it, and that'll be added to the tweet. So, Lisandro Martinez header, let's go.
He does do this, Keane, and I'm looking forward to that one when it does come out. A few in the comments, Billy 4-1 on Thursday, and he said Rashford to shut everyone up with the first goal. Richard with a resounding 5-0, and Helly optimistic, which is obviously good to hear. Right, Stu, over to you then, buddy.
I'm predicting 25 clear-cut chances, and we'll score twice because there's no way we'll get 5.
Harry Maguire!
And I'm going to go for Eriksen to score his first goal. I think he's finally going to hit the target, and he's going to score. So me and Jarvis are on the same page. I think we'll create plenty of chances. We'll waste a good amount and probably score twice.
Who was your first goal scorer?
Eriksen. I think Eriksen will pop one in.
He needs one as well, doesn't he? There's a few that I could pick to get a first goal scorer, just purely on the basis he hasn't scored yet. Obviously, Martinez is a good one. Ericsson is a good one. I think I'll probably go 4-0. And you know what? I'm not overly sure that Ronaldo's going to start. He may do, probably will do, but with that in mind, I don't think he'll score first. So I'm going to say Bruno to get the first. So yeah, 4-0 for me. Bruno to get the first, and we'll see. Anyway, listen, guys. Thanks for all your comments tonight. Really, really good conversations. Really, really nice and peaceful, which is always good to see. And yeah, we will see you again, obviously later in the week, and hopefully it will be after a win and one step closer to getting to that top spot. But listen, thanks very much, guys. Thank you too as well. Obviously, fantastic stuff as always. Really, really appreciate it, guys. And we'll see you next time.